The entire restaurant froze the moment the tray crashed onto the polished marble floor. Crystal glasses shattered into hundreds of glittering pieces, expensive wine spread across the spotless tiles, and every pair of eyes turned toward the exhausted black waiter standing at the center of the disaster. His hands trembled, not because he was afraid of losing his job, but because his young daughter was waiting for him at home, depending on him to survive another day. Then came the laughter. A wealthy billionaire sitting at the finest table leaned back in his chair with a smug smile, mocking the waiter loudly enough for everyone to hear. The room echoed with humiliation until the waiter slowly lifted his head, looked directly into the billionaire's eyes, and calmly whispered words no one expected. "Mock me again, I dare you." In that single moment, the laughter disappeared, the billionaire's smile faded, and silence swallowed the room. Before we continue this unforgettable story, if you believe kindness is stronger than cruelty and that everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories that remind the world compassion still exists. Malcolm Johnson had never imagined that life would become a daily battle against invisible storms. 5 years earlier he had been a happy husband, a proud father, and a warehouse supervisor earning enough to keep food on the table. Then tragedy arrived without warning. His wife passed away after a sudden illness that left behind crushing hospital bills and an empty home filled with memories too painful to escape. Overnight, Malcolm became both father and mother to 6-year-old Ava. Every morning before sunrise he braided her curly hair by watching old tutorial videos, packed her school lunch with whatever groceries he could afford, and reminded her that she was the brightest light in his world. Every night, after working double shifts as a waiter, he returned home with aching feet, pretending not to notice his own hunger so Ava could eat a little more. The restaurant where Malcolm worked was famous for serving celebrities, politicians, and billionaires. The customers admired the elegant decor but rarely noticed the workers who made every evening unforgettable. Malcolm smiled through endless exhaustion because his paycheck meant medicine when Ava caught the flu, new shoes when she outgrew the old ones, and school supplies that made her feel equal to every other child. His uniform was always perfectly pressed even though it was years old. His shoes were polished until they reflected the lights overhead, hiding the fact that the soles were beginning to separate. Pride was the only luxury he still allowed himself. On the evening everything changed. The restaurant welcomed one of the richest businessmen in the country. Victor Langford was known for building a financial empire through ruthless decisions and impossible expectations. Employees whispered that he respected success but looked down on anyone struggling to climb. Cameras followed him everywhere, and even the restaurant manager seemed nervous while preparing the VIP section. Malcolm was assigned to serve Victor's table because he was dependable under pressure, though no one realized he had barely slept after spending the previous night comforting Ava through a fever. As Malcolm carried an expensive bottle of vintage wine toward the billionaire's table, his phone vibrated silently inside his pocket. It was the school nurse trying to reach him about Ava, but he could not answer while balancing the heavy tray. His heart skipped with worry, his grip shifted for a fraction of a second, and the tray slipped from his tired hands. The crash echoed like thunder. The restaurant became painfully quiet before scattered laughter broke through the silence. Victor did not simply complain about the accident. He used it as entertainment. He mocked Malcolm's appearance, questioned his competence, and implied that people like him would never become anything more than servants. Several guests laughed awkwardly while others lowered their eyes in embarrassment. Malcolm stood motionless, breathing slowly as humiliation burned through him. Every cruel word reminded him of the sacrifices no one could see, the sleepless nights, the unpaid bills, and the promise he had made beside his wife's hospital bed that he would never let their daughter lose hope. That was when Malcolm looked directly at Victor and quietly said, "Mock me again, I dare you." His voice contained no anger, only the strength of someone who had survived pain greater than insults. The confidence in those simple words unsettled everyone in the room. Victor expected tears, excuses, or apologies. Instead, he saw a father refusing to surrender the last piece of dignity life had left him. The restaurant manager rushed over, prepared to fire Malcolm immediately to satisfy the wealthy customer. Before he could speak, a little girl ran through the entrance with the school nurse close behind. Ava had insisted on finding her father after learning she had been discharged early. The nurse apologized for interrupting but explained that the child would not stop crying because she believed something terrible had happened to her dad. Ava wrapped her tiny arms around Malcolm's waist and whispered that she loved him more than anyone in the world. The restaurant grew silent once again, but this time it was not because of embarrassment. Guests watched Malcolm kneel beside his daughter despite his stained uniform. He wiped away her tears before brushing broken glass away from her shoes. The love between them needed no explanation. It was visible in every gentle movement, every reassuring smile, and every exhausted expression Malcolm tried so hard to hide. Victor observed the scene without speaking. Memories he had buried for decades suddenly resurfaced. As a child, he too had watched his own hardworking father endure humiliation while trying to provide for the family. Success had made Victor wealthy beyond imagination, but somewhere along the journey he had forgotten the man whose sacrifices built the foundation of that fortune. Looking at Malcolm and Ava felt like staring into a forgotten mirror. Instead of demanding Malcolm's dismissal, Victor quietly asked the manager to leave them alone. He walked across the restaurant, bent down, and helped Malcolm gather the shattered glass. The billionaire's expensive suit became stained with wine as surprised customers reached for their phones, unable to believe what they were witnessing. Pride had finally given way to humanity. Victor later discovered that Malcolm had repeatedly declined charity programs because he wanted to earn every opportunity through honest work. Deeply moved, he offered something very different from a handout. He created a management training position specifically designed for hardworking employees who had been overlooked despite extraordinary dedication. Malcolm became the first participant, not because of sympathy, but because Victor believed true leadership began with resilience, compassion, and integrity rather than privilege. Months passed, and Malcolm transformed from waiter to operations manager. He introduced fair scheduling for single parents, educational scholarships for employees' children, and emergency assistance funds for families facing medical crises. The restaurant's atmosphere changed because kindness became part of its culture instead of just excellent service. Workers smiled with genuine pride, customers noticed the difference, and the business flourished more than ever before. The greatest victory came on Ava's first day at her new school. She stood before her classmates during career day and proudly told everyone that her father was her hero because he never stopped believing in goodness, even when the world laughed at him. Malcolm listened from the back of the room with tears filling his eyes. He realized success was never measured by wealth or titles. It was measured by the character his daughter would carry into the future. If this story touched your heart even a little, please like this video, share it with your family and friends, leave a heartfelt comment, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Every interaction helps us spread stories that inspire hope, courage, and compassion across the world. Special request: tell us in the comments, what is one act of kindness you will never forget, either given to you or done by you? Your story might inspire someone who desperately needs hope today. Life has an extraordinary way of revealing that true greatness is never found in the size of a bank account, the power of a business empire, or the applause of strangers. It is found in the quiet courage of a father who refuses to let hardship steal his dignity, in the innocent love of a child who believes her parent can overcome anything, and in the rare moment when a hardened heart finally remembers compassion. Malcolm never sought revenge against the man who mocked him. Instead, he proved that grace under pressure is stronger than pride, and that the loudest victory often arrives in complete silence. Long after the broken glass had been swept away, people forgot the expensive wine that had stained the floor, but they never forgot the night one humble single father stood tall, protected his dignity with calm courage, and reminded everyone watching that kindness will always outshine cruelty.